Well, thanks, Taylor, very much. Thanks to Montana Broadcasting Network and for airing this program so more folks in our state can be even more involved. It was last August, Taylor mentioned it, I was out in town and over at the Jersey Lily, and we, in the back there, we started talking about a lot of issues, primarily post offices. And once we got into it, I thought the best thing to do is get the head of the Postal Service here to Ingomar. Well, the best thing I could do at that point was just get on the phone. So right there at that moment, that afternoon, I had one of my people try to get, you probably don't know this, Patrick, but we tried to get you on the phone because we had some questions we wanted to ask, and unfortunately we couldn't find you. You're understandably busy doing something. And since then, wrote that letter, made a couple of telephone calls to him, and we're very, very honored to have the Postmaster General now here to Ingomar, to eastern Montana. To be honest, I had to work on it a little bit, that the Postmaster General realized that maybe discretion is a better part of valor, maybe it's a good thing to come to eastern Montana anyway. This is really important for me and clearly for you. I believe about 80% of life is showing up, just being there. You see so much, you learn so much. People see you, see who you are, what you're all about. It's just very, very important to physically be someplace. Our Postmaster General has not been to Montana before. This is his first visit. And I thought it would be great to come to our state, and we were this morning in Helena at a meeting there. I worked yesterday at the Missoula Processing Center to learn even more than I could about the Postal Service. Then felt he should probably come to eastern Montana, and what better place than Ingomar, where we last met in August, and where I said I'm going to do my very best to bring the Postmaster General to Montana. So here he is, Patrick Donahoe, our Postmaster General. He is here. I think it's just great that he's here. Let's give him a round of applause. Yeah. A couple of things really didn't come up in Helena. Patrick, I'd like to raise right now. One is this. We're now in eastern Montana. We're talking about people who need access, but we're also talking about farms and ranches, businesses. Our Montana farms and ranches very much depend on the Postal Service. I mean, to get parts, to keep it in operation. I was raised on a ranch just west of here, and I can tell you many times equipment machinery broke down. We had to get parts, sometimes go to town to get parts, and sometimes parts came in the mail and so forth. We're businesses here in eastern Montana. We're farms, we're ranches. Driving over here from Roundup, you can see all the cattle country here. So it's important to remember that we're businesses too, in addition to people in towns and cities that need access to the post office. Another point is schools. Schools really need the mail service, and small schools really need it because you can't use the internet to very much of the time to fill out mail. They need to be certified in applications, and it really depend on the mail service. And that may not be, that's less true maybe for a couple other instances, but for schools are, as well as local medical center and the post office, are the lifeblood and kind of the anchor of an awful lot of communities. The third point is this. You mentioned, and have mentioned several times correctly, that the internet is dug into your profits and dug into the Postal Service. And that is true. A lot of people pay bills online. But as you also noticed driving over here from Roundup, there is no cell service. There aren't many people paying bills online in this neck of the woods. People got to use the mail, and do use the mail. And there are other services too that you can't use because there's not cell service, there's not internet service for an awful lot of this part of the country. My main view is this. As we're trying to get the Postal Service straightened out, and there's about a $15 billion deficit right now in the Postal Service, it does not make sense for the financial problems of the Postal Service to be solved on the backs of rural America, of rural post offices and processing centers in rural parts of America. Urban folks should help out too. We Montanans do not want to take advantage of other people, but we do not want other people, that is, city dwellers, to take advantage of us. There are 37 rural post offices potentially slated for closing. You know this better than I. But they were all closed. That helped you with about $243 million, which is not a lot out of the 15 billion deficit that you have. And I also believe strongly, and I'll sit down pretty quickly here, in addition to looking at potential cost cutting, it's also important to look at ways to get additional revenue, new products, new marketing. And we've talked about a few ideas how you get to that. And also better contracts with UPS and FedEx and so forth so the Postal Service can stay in business, because Postal Service is universal service. You have to deliver to every house, every community. You got the last mile and so forth. And so we're here to ask you questions, and you're here to hear you say what you're trying to do to help with the Postal Service. And I just know that since you're here personally, it's going to make a big difference so we get a good, fair, balanced solution, and one that is not on the backs of rural America. Let's give a big round of applause to our Postmaster General, Pat Donahoe.
Good afternoon, everybody. Oops, is that too loud? Okay. How's that? Yeah, it's ready. Okay, great, thank you. Good afternoon, nice to see everybody. We had a nice trip over today. It's like the senator said, this is the first time I've ever been in the state of Montana. I've got a number of years we've had some opportunities to come up here, and at the last minute things have always got the plans off center, but it's really a nice opportunity to come out, and certainly a nice opportunity to hear what's on your mind. The Postal Service is very, very critical for the United States of America, and very, very critical for the state of Montana. We know how important we are, even though we've seen over the course of the last number of years people paying bills online, using us less in those areas. We're still very important as far as helping you do your business, helping whether it's packages, whether it's letters, advertisement. We know that we play a very, very important role in the United States. The other thing that's important, and I think people don't realize it, is the Postal Service is the center of a very, very large mailing industry, a mailing industry that makes up a pretty substantial portion of the GDP in America. And we've got people in the forestry business, the paper business, the transportation business, printing. All told, there's about 550,000 employees that work in the Postal Service, but when you put the entire industry together, it's almost 8 million people. So we are a very important part of this American economy. But financially, we are in trouble right now. We're in trouble for a couple reasons. We're in trouble because there has been diversion of mail. We've lost in the last 4 years, about 27% of our first-class mail, and it's mainly been, bill payment online, and we understand that. I mean, it's easy, it's free, and people do that. We've also lost some of our volume with the recession that everybody's been affected on in this country. Now, the good thing is our people do a tremendous job. Our people are extremely productive, excellent employees all over the country, and they've been able to help to take a lot of the cost out with the revenues that we've lost. But the problem we face now is this. We're running into a situation where, as the volume continues to go down, there's a lot of fixed infrastructure across the country. We operate 33,000 post offices, 487 processing facilities. We operate on a daily basis, deliver with about 210,000 vehicles. So when you're losing that volume, you've got to figure out how in the world do you continue with the infrastructure that you have, and then what choices do you make out there as far as addressing it. And that's where you hear the idea of 6 to 5 day and reviewing small post offices and looking at the plant network. One of the other things we're working through too is trying to resolve some requirements by law that we've got to pre-fund retiree health benefits for people who retire in this organization. In the last 5 years, we've put aside about $43 billion into that fund, but our finances are such now that we can't do that anymore, and that's something we're trying to get resolved going forward right now. Now, there's a couple things that are happening. As the Senator mentioned, there's work being done in Washington, D.C. The Senate has got a bill up there that we think will help us, and we're right behind that. We need to get that moving. We're also taking a number of steps with some changes in the network itself, and we're also looking at how we can grow this organization. We've seen nice growth in package delivery. It's up about 8-9% on priority mail to the same period last year, and 15% on what we call parcel select, that last mile that we deliver for FedEx and UPS and some other companies. So we've seen nice growth there. We've seen nice growth in the advertising business, but first-class mail makes up more than 50% of our revenues, and it makes up about 65% of the total contribution to run everything. So first-class mail pays for 33,000 post offices, mail being delivered 6 days a week, and that's what we have to look at as far as addressing this problem. Unfortunately, and I would love to be able to do this, but unfortunately we can't grow our way out of it. So there's some things on the table. And this is what we're looking at. One, of course, is moving from 6-day delivery to 5-day delivery. And our proposal is this. We would keep post offices open 6 days. So many of you would probably still get delivery because you get delivery at post offices out here now. We'd keep the network running. P.O. box mail would get delivered, and we deliver packages. We might have a small surcharge on the packages. UPS and FedEx charge somewhere around $20 a package. Ours would be substantially less. It might only be a couple bucks, but there would still be Saturday delivery. So that saves us about $2.7 billion a year. Some of the other changes we're looking at are small post offices, but we think that we've got some pretty good resolutions there. Ideas that would keep small post offices open, but we might have to look at the hours. So instead of 8 hours a day, there might be 6. Instead of 6, there might be 4. And we'd have to address some of the ongoing employment costs in the post office. And these are things that we're trying to work through right now with our postmaster organizations across the country. The key thing, though, is we do understand how important access to postal offices and postal products are. And we would make sure that you have that access. And we know how important it is, especially out in an area where you don't have access to a lot of other things, and how important the post office is to be that connection to the rest of a lot of this country and beyond, and what you do from a daily perspective in either business or personal. Some other changes, some of the processing plants, we're looking at that. That would require some changes in service standards. These things are all on the table. We are listening. We're trying to work through to come up with the best solution is. But bottom line is we've got to take a pretty good chunk of cost out of the organization. The goal is this. The goal is to get this organization healthy, get rid of debt, and put ourselves in the situation where we're looking forward rather than backward and try to figure out every year how do we make the payments, how do we get out of debt. Key thing is, from our perspective, there are two sets of customers in the Postal Service: the receivers, recipients, to a large extent, the people here. Then there are big customers. There are customers that bring in $500 million of postage a year. Making sure that they know that we're going to be here for the long run keeps them in the mail, keeps that $500 million a year from some of these big customers. They pay the freight on a lot of things. If they start getting nervous that we're not going to be able to make payroll at the end of the year and their cash flow is going to get upset, they will start pushing to the internet. We do not want to do that. So we think we have a responsible plan, one that's fair to customers, one that's fair to our employees, and it's fair to the American public. But again, it's a work in process. We're listening. We're trying to figure out what the best way to go forward is. But the key thing is getting the Postal Service on good, firm financial footing so that we'll be here this year, next year, and for decades to come. And with that, let me again say thank you very much. We appreciate your support out here. We want to do a great job. There's some great postmasters in the audience here that think the world of you guys. I want to make sure that they deliver every day. And I'd be more than happy now to take any questions that you have.